Donald Trump and his team just got exposed for deceptively editing a government video, and what they were trying to cover up. Yeah, it's worse than you think. We're diving into the chaos unfolding around Iran, Trump's total lack of strategy, and the MAGA meltdown it's triggering inside his own party. Let's start with Congressman Adam Schiff, who's not holding back about just how dangerous this really is.
Senator, we know we have a situation here with Israel and Iran. This is a level of actual warfare between those two countries that we haven't gotten to before. What should be happening both in the White House and with the intelligence committees in Congress, and how should Congress be included in discussions about what's happening there?
Well, I think what should happen in the White House is they should be laying out for the president, okay, here are the alternatives. Here's what it would mean if the U.S. goes in and bombs Fordow. This is what the Iranian reaction is likely to be. Here are the risks of escalation. Here are the risks to our troops. If they do attack our troops and any of our troops are killed, we're going to have to respond, and we will be in this then, potentially full-flown conflict with Iran. They should lay out the consequences of leaving Fordow intact. They should really set it out for the president and provide intelligence to back it up, not just shoot from the seat of their pants. That's what Donald Trump does. That is, shoot from the seat of his pants. But they should also be involving Congress in this. We had to beg and plead for a briefing. I've raised this a couple times. I'm glad to see that the administration is going to come brief Congress. They should be submitting this question to Congress. They should seek our authorization. If we're going to be taking a step like bombing Iran, that should be something that is only done constitutionally with Congress's approval. So that's what should be happening. In terms of what is happening, who the hell really knows?
So apparently, the US might be sliding toward war with Iran, and guess who's flying the plane? Yep, Captain Chaos himself. Adam Schiff lays it out like this. We've got a president who needs a full intel briefing with clear outcomes, risk assessments, and constitutional procedures. And instead, we've got Trump, who treats foreign policy like it's an episode of Celebrity Apprentice Global Crisis Edition. Congress, the people who are legally supposed to decide on war, had to beg for a briefing? That's not just reckless. That's classic Trump. Hide the facts, dodge accountability, and hope no one notices while he rage posts about dishwashers or sharks. Now, maybe Trump's trying to keep everyone in the dark on purpose. Or maybe he has no idea what's going on and doesn't want to admit it. Either way, Schiff makes it clear this is not how it's supposed to work. But Trump doesn't care about the Constitution. He treats it like it's just another prop on the table at Mar-a-Lago. And before we go any further, buckle up, because the next clip, it's Trump getting completely destroyed by his own director of national intelligence.
The IC continues to assess that Iran is not building a nuclear weapon, and Supreme Leader Khamenei has not authorized the nuclear weapons program that he suspended in 2003.
How close do you personally think that they were to getting one? Because Tulsi Gabbard testified in March that the intelligence community said Iran wasn't building a nuclear weapon.
I don't care what she said. I think they were very close to having one.
Well, isn't that interesting? On one side, we have Tulsi Gabbard repeating the official intelligence assessment that Iran isn't building a nuke. And on the other, we have Donald Trump going full conspiracy mode and basically saying, I don't care what the facts are. I feel like they were close. So unless Gabbard just casually lied under oath, that means Trump is once again making stuff up on national television. Shocker. And remember when Trump bragged, nobody knows what I'm doing? Yeah, we noticed. That's kind of the problem. In reality, this Iran drama is MAGA chaos at its finest. Trump's team is scrambling to edit old clips, polish his narrative, and make it look like he has a plan, but they got caught again. And here is the article to it.
White House deceptively edits Tulsi Gabbard's testimony to make it look like she was warning Iran was close to nukes. The White House deceptively edited a video of U.S. Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard's March testimony on Wednesday to make it look like she was warning that Iran was close to developing nuclear weapons. In the past year, we've seen an erosion of a decades-long taboo in Iran on discussing nuclear weapons in public, likely emboldening nuclear weapon advocates within Iran's decision-making apparatus, said Gabbard in a clip posted by the White House's Rapid Response account. Iran's enriched uranium stockpile is at its highest levels and is unprecedented for a state without nuclear weapons. While the clip made it look like Gabbard was warning that Iran was close to developing nuclear weapons, it was edited to exclude a moment from just seconds before, where Gabbard declared that the U.S. intelligence community has assessed that Iran was not building a nuclear weapon, and that neither the Supreme Leader authorized the development of one.
So the White House actually edited Tulsi Gabbard's testimony to make it look like she was sounding the nuclear alarm, when just seconds earlier, she literally said Iran is not building a bomb. That's right, they clipped out the one part that made everything else make sense. It's like taking a fire drill and editing out the part where someone says, "This is just a drill." Classic Trump playbook. Lie by editing, then yell about fake news when they get caught doing it. And oh boy, they did get caught. Now here comes the part that really gets wild.
And we see that clip deceptively edited and shared by the White House rapid response account right here. The IC continues to assess that Iran is not building a nuclear weapon, Tulsi Gabbard testified. Asked about Gabbard's testimony on Tuesday, which seemed to conflict with his suggestion that Iran was close to developing a nuclear weapon, as we saw Trump snap saying, "I don't care what she said. I think they were very close to having one."
So let's break this down, because it's giving full-on split personality MAGA meltdown. On one hand, you've got Trump world butchering Tulsi Gabbard's testimony to make it seem like she's ringing nuclear alarm bells about Iran. On the other hand, they also posted the full version, the one where she clearly says the intelligence community doesn't believe Iran is building a nuke. So which is it? Even they don't know. This isn't policy, it's not leadership, it's Trump grabbing at headlines like a toddler on a sugar high. He wants to sound tough on Iran, but also doesn't want to admit he has no clue what's going on. And his solution, say both things at the same time, loudly. 1 minute he's denying any role in the Israel strike. Hours later, he's out here claiming credit like he's some kind of battlefield genius. There is zero strategy, just vibes, ego, and a loyal cast of confused supporters standing by, waiting for his next contradictory command. And guess what? That confusion puts us all at risk, especially when Pete Hegseth is too busy deploying troops to Los Angeles, and Swalwell is about to light them up in a way that's honestly chef's kiss. Let's watch it.
And I always tell folks that the check on fascism or an aspiring dictator like Donald Trump is Congress, the free press, independent courts, and the town squares. Congress is gone. The other three are doing it, but military families tell me there's a fifth check, and it's that our military rank and file will not follow an unlawful order. The problem is, it's not only going to be given by the president, it looks like the Secretary of Defense is completely cool shooting at protesters. I also just want to say what Senator Slotkin did there today, that's how you do it. You have to keep these guys on their heels every single second they're in front of you in Congress. Otherwise, they will flood the zone, own the narrative, and essentially overwhelm us with disinformation.
Eric Swalwell just laid it out like a bulletin from reality. When Congress folds, the only thing left between us and a full-blown Trump dictatorship is the press, the courts, and maybe a few soldiers who remember what unlawful means. But the scariest part, Trump won't be the only one giving the orders. He's got yes men in uniform ready to follow along. And props to Slotkin, keeping these MAGA officials constantly cornered is the only way to stop them from hijacking the truth. Now get ready, because Pete Hegseth is about to say something probably truly fake.
Senator Warren took a slightly different tack, really focusing on the judiciary and the role that they are going to play here. Let's play that sound.
If the Supreme Court orders you to remove troops from American cities, will you do so?
As I've said, Senator, I don't believe district courts should determine national security policy, but if the Supreme Court rules on a topic, we will abide by that.
Elizabeth Warren just dropped a mic check on the military chain of command, reminding us that when all else fails, the Supreme Court still holds the gavel, even if Trump's goons would rather ignore it. And notice the hesitation, that little pause before committing to obeying the court? Yeah. That's not just nerves. That's the sound of a system where rule of law is now up for debate. We're in an era where even basic constitutional compliance is suddenly a maybe. And next, we've got Pete Hegseth. And let's just say the truth bombs are coming in hot.
Okay, so I have two questions. One, just sort of interesting that they continually come back to this idea of undermining district courts. We've heard a lot of this, trying to make the argument that district courts are somehow overstepping their authority and creating policy from the bench. Let's put that that aside for a second, do you believe Pete Hegseth when he says, yes, we will listen to the Supreme Court, or do you think he is making a calculation that this conservative Supreme Court is going to rule in their favor?
Well, they've been losing to the Supreme Court. And so I'm not entirely confident they're going to rule in his favor. But no, I don't trust Pete Hegseth at all on this. And I don't trust Donald Trump at all. Who I trust is you as a journalist, that you're going to fiercely cover this. I trust that the courts are going to continue to bring their independence to this. And I trust that the town squares, if they don't follow this, will look like No King's Day 10-100X, if that's the case. And frankly, that's what is checking Donald Trump. His weakness, his kryptonite, is that he really, really wants to be liked. And so the Trump always caves meme, it's true, and he caves because he wants to be liked. And so if Americans don't cave and we show up when he does something like this, disobey a Supreme Court order, I promise he will back down. That's just who he is.
So Pete Hegseth says, we'll follow the Supreme Court, sure, and Trump respects boundaries, right? Swalwell isn't buying it because he knows what we all know. These guys only respect power when it's theirs. And while Trump and Hegseth might hope the conservative Supreme Court will have their back, reality's been slapping them down lately. But here's the real twist. Trump's greatest weakness? He needs applause like air. Public backlash melts him. If we show up, he folds every time. And speaking of folding, what's coming next is a total wipeout for Trump's team. Absolute destruction. Let's go.
Congressman, that's an interesting point because it plays itself out as we saw today, yesterday rather, in conversations between Ted Cruz and Tucker Carlson. Over our engagement, or this administration's engagement in Iran. I guess I have two questions. First is, anybody have a follow-up for Senator Cruz there in the caucus room to ask him? So exactly what are your plans on Iran, and do you know how many people live in the country? But I think more broadly, what does that say to you, given that you're right now at the heart of all of this? The state of California, your constituents are in the target for what Trump wants to do. So the politics is real in terms of how they're approaching your state. Alyssa Slotkin spoke to that a little bit and saying, you don't see them putting troops on the grounds in Florida and Texas, where you have the largest population of undocumented immigrants in the country, but yet they're not going to those Republican states, those Republican governors, with their humiliating game cosplay. How does this play out politically as a tool to create bigger fractures, as we saw today with Tucker and Ted Cruz, but also as we saw play out between Alyssa Slotkin and the secretary?
So if you are a voter who was promised and voted for Donald Trump because you were told there would be no more wars, or that he would end the wars on day one, and you voted for him, you had a right to believe that he would be your candidate. If that's what motivated you, I understand why you did that, but he has completely betrayed you.
So let's get this straight. Trump built his brand on no more wars, but now his administration is practically foaming at the mouth over Iran, dragging California into the chaos while Florida and Texas get a MAGA free pass. The hypocrisy is so loud, it's echoing across the internet. Even Ted Cruz and Tucker Carlson can't agree whose cosplay is more embarrassing. Meanwhile, states like California, full of people Trump loves to vilify, are the first to get targeted deployments and zero transparency. If you voted for peace and got this circus instead, you were played. And it's not just strategy, it's political theater, weaponized to fracture the country and distract from a collapsing narrative. If that makes your blood boil just a little, you're not alone. Make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell, because the next video, let's just say, it's Trump, it's his team, it's messy, and it's something you really need to see.